All right, so there you go. You guys are watching the VanNoisSeur Podcast. This is episode 2. And here we get into, if you don't know this, VanNoisSeur is all about exploring Class B RVs, overlanding, and van life culture. That's right, that's what we get all up into here. I'm joined by my friend PJ of ModVans. Welcome, PJ. You're live in California.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here in California. It's not quite a sunny day here. This is what we call the June gloom. It's a little bit overcast, but it's nice and cool. Probably high 60s. And I'm sitting here in our MH1 X demo van. I know you're in your van as well. So, it's actually a great place. I'm here at our factory, so it's super noisy inside, but it's nice and peaceful and quiet right here in the van. So it's a great place to do a podcast.
Yes, and a couple of things I want to get out of the way for everyone who's joining us here. One, I am actually a very tiny, infinitesimal owner of ModVans. So
thank you for your investment.
Yeah, full disclosure. I met you guys a few years ago, and I really think that ModVans is on the cutting edge of this whole Class B van game. I know you guys obviously aren't the biggest and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, and this is me. Some people, other people might have other opinions, but I really do think you guys are on the cutting edge of that. You're really designing and engineering things that I don't really see anywhere else. So, thanks for doing that. I'm just letting everyone know, where my motivations are. And I actually came to see you guys out at the factory last year. Lola and I were out there, but you've moved.
Yep, we moved to a new location. We're 10 minutes closer to LA, for better and worse, in a town called Camarillo. So we were previously in Oxnard, now we're in Camarillo. It's about still 60 miles west of LA.
Okay, so closer to LA.
A little bit, 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, what was the reason for the move? What are the benefits you guys got out of that?
The biggest thing is we tripled our manufacturing space. So we were in 8,400 square feet. Now we're in 22,500. We got 10 offices. We had 2 offices before. So just a much bigger facility. We were just, people were ready to quit because we were too packed in, too many people in two offices. The kind of joke was we need to balance the bathrooms. So we had to make the female bathroom unisex. That wasn't, Lori didn't like that plan. So now we have enough bathrooms to handle the team, and we've been able to hire a lot more people. So we're kind of getting back into growth mode where we had done a lot of R&D in 2022 and kind of grown that facility to build as fast and as many as we could. And we really had maxed it out for quite a while. So it was time to move.
Okay, cool. Let me just do a quick shout out to Go Small, Live Large, also a van YouTuber, van-centric YouTuber. Shout out to him. If you guys aren't following him, you should follow him. I'm going to make some plans to actually go on his live that happens on Wednesdays. But shout out to Scott out there. And Travel Dreamer says that they said Apple was small too back in the day.
Everybody has to start somewhere.
So there you go. So that's the reason why you guys did it. And what's the downsides? Are there any downsides to that, you think?
To the move?
Yeah.
We did originally. We had talked about moving into a nearby state to still be close to California, to be outside some of the cost of living here. So we're still kind of faced with a high cost of living. There's trade-offs to everything. The good side is that we didn't have to really stop production. We were able to really smoothly transition to this space. And I think some people are kind of sometimes interested in the details. So I'm like giving them out the actual space to lease here really isn't that much any more expensive really than a similar industrial space in let's say Nevada or Arizona, but cost of living is higher here.
Okay, all right. And let me also shout out to my friend Shooting Gallery, who's out there. He says, it's crack-a-lacking. That's his comment. Go Small, Live Large says, thanks, Hank. Would enjoy you being our guest on What's Up Wednesday. So, yes, we're going to make that happen. Do you want to start, PJ, by maybe explaining to folks out there, showing people, or, just telling them about ModVans and what exactly you guys do? And if you want to here, I can actually pull up either your screen or my screen and show people some examples of what you make. Everyone just has to bear
Sure.
with us
I think the
for a
simplest
minute.
way is maybe if you could share your screen, maybe pull up the ModVans homepage and just you can
Yeah,
scroll down and see them.
I will do that here. Let me see. I will, first of all, what I need to do is actually take some cameras off, and that's really the best way to do it here, and put some cameras on. And let's see. I will change this, I think, to, let's go to my phone. So this is ModVans. If you want to, it's modvans.com, right? And folks can go in there and take a look. Let me see. We're probably going to get a better look at what's there if I go this way. So we can go to the different. Can we go to the different models that you
Yep,
guys
you
have?
can. Should be at the
Which
top
one
of it.
do you want to start with, the MH1 or?
Oh, it's okay. You can just show them, and I'll kind of explain to people what we do while you're kind of just scrolling through it.
Mm-hmm.
So ModVans is basically a brand new RV manufacturer. We specialize in Class B RVs, but we consider them actually more multi-purpose vehicles with camping features. We started with a low roof. A van, a Class B RV built on a low roof van that had a pop-up top to give you extra space while you had that low roof van to give you standing space and space for 2 beds. And we really, my original use case was I wanted a vehicle for my family that I could drive every day. I didn't have a long commute for work. I didn't actually drive every day, and I didn't want to own a separate vehicle only for camping. So I built this crossover vehicle that had camping features, but also had enough safe and comfortable seats. Had 2 beds. That particular version had 5 seats total.
Okay.
That's how ModVans started. And then, fast forward 5 years, we've really doubled down. We have 6 models total offered in 3 different sizes. So we have still our low roof, which is very close to the original one that we did. Now we have a medium roof. We had a lot of requests from customers. These are all, we've grown the business based on the feedback that we get from the market. We built a medium roof model, and now we have a high roof extended length model that is more of a true Class B RV. That would be, almost a dedicated, it depends on the person, but a lot of people would consider that to be a dedicated camping vehicle.
Right. That would be the MH1, right? The big one.
Yeah, that's the initial image on the home page, and what I'm sitting in for this podcast right now. Right. And one of the things that we did was we kind of start off with that multi-purpose modular feature. So we're the only truly modular Class B RV that you can take everything out. Like literally, we have videos where we show it. Everything behind me can come out, and then you have a cargo van, and then you can kind of add the components back in to get the thing you want. But the thing that's different about ModVans is that includes all the normal RV systems. So we still have an air conditioner, we still have a heater, a furnace, we still have microwave, kitchen sink, water system, tanks, all that, but it's still modular. So basically you can actually take all the out, and you can still almost use it as an RV, even with all the systems out. So like I said, we have some videos on our website that kind of demonstrate that. So that was our original, focus, was really innovating in the RV space and coming out with these unique designs that for something that have never been done before. Literally, we have patents pending on some of these design concepts. And then in the last couple of years, what we've done, we've matched that up with a really big push into technology. And just as an example, we have the biggest battery available in any RV that I know of. It's over twice as big as anything else on the market. So, people are like, oh, these guys just came out with a 12 kilowatt or 13 kilowatt hour battery, and our big battery is 26 kilowatt hours, and we're looking at ways to make that bigger. But at the same time, we're still really focused on, how do we have that big battery but still be super innovative and practical. So normally to get a 26 kilowatt hour battery, you'd have these giant boxes in the back of your van, and you wouldn't have any storage back there for your adventure gear. And what we did was said, no, that's unacceptable, because part of the point of having an adventure van is to go on adventures and take the things that you want, your kayaks, your surfboards, your bicycles, on your adventure. So we came up with this idea of a floor battery, where the entire floor is a 1-inch layer of battery. And that 26 kilowatt hour battery actually almost disappears. It takes practically no space inside the RV because it's built as a 1-inch layer of the floor. And then, the last little piece is the super high technology. So we actually created custom circuit boards, and we wrote our own software, and we have an app that controls everything inside the vehicle. So your lights, your plumbing, your heating, it's all controlled with the ModVans app. And sure, there's other companies that have little pieces of that, but there's nobody who's built it in-house and offers it as just a one integrated solution, one-stop shop where we built the battery, we built the app, it's all integrated together. All the power, all the battery power flows through those circuit boards that we designed. So it's a totally integrated system.
Yeah, and just to answer a question from Go Small Live Large, he said, which chassis does ModVans build on? What
So that's
chassis
a
van?
Yeah, so
Great
I
comment.
built the first van for myself,
Hmm.
and I did a survey of the market. I'm an engineer, so this is kind of my engineering background coming into play.
Hmm.
I looked at the Sprinter, I looked at the ProMaster, I looked at even the Chevrolet, and I decided that the Ford Transit was the best available van at any price. Price not a factor. The Ford
Hmm.
Transit was the best, and so I started with I built a van for my family
Hmm.
on the Ford Transit, and ModVans right now only builds on the Ford Transit because we still see it as the best van. During the supply chain, we asked ourselves some really hard questions about that because some other vans were more readily available, possibly on the market, and we just, I kind of said, revisiting this choice again, I want to
Hmm.
stick with the Transit because it's still, in my
Hmm.
opinion, the best van available.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And by the way, I'm playing around with everything while we're doing this.
Yeah.
So ignore me. I can't stop messing messing around with things here while we're doing this, because this is like the first few episodes. So, you
Yeah, we're
know,
still figuring
yeah,
technology.
we're still figuring. I'm still figuring everything out. But I agree with you. To me personally, of the three main options, because in America basically there's only three options for vans, right? That would be the Sprinter van from Mercedes, the ProMaster van from Ram, and then obviously Ford has the Transit. That's the options you have. To me, the Transit is just the best. I think because it has all-wheel drive, the it's easier to get maintenance for it and all that kind of stuff. It's also bigger. I think the ProMaster is pretty cool, but it doesn't have all-wheel drive. It doesn't come as big
It's
as
only
the Transit. But the Sprinter gets the biggest one. I just don't think the power and all that is there. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so we actually have some great videos. One of the
Hmm.
one of the things that kind of uh, 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 people have this idea that the Sprinter is more capable off road.
Hmm.
Because it came with 4x4 in the beginning. Even though the Transit, you can get a 4x4 aftermarket conversion. Then later, Ford came out with an all-wheel drive system from the factory, which they called all-wheel drive. And
Hmm.
I think there's still the perception in the market that somehow the 4x4 Mercedes was more capable off road than all-wheel drive. And I really actually didn't know because I
Hmm.
hadn't bought a Mercedes and taken it off road, and I couldn't really, tell you the plus and minus. But
Hmm.
2 years ago, we did a great overlanding ride with a whole group of vendors, and there
Hmm.
was two Mercedes Sprinters on that ride, and then there was two of our vehicles that we took. We took a low and a high roof van, and on that ride, it became, I mean, apparent to everybody on that ride, and I'm actually gonna, I think we can do a little bit of a clip from that. Let me see if I can.
Oh, you want a
Yeah,
screen share?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna screen share and see if I can get that ride in there.
Yeah. Let me
Let's
see
see.
if I can. I will put that back on, and then I'll switch this to your screen share.
Yeah, here we go. So I'm gonna
Here we
do
go.
this one, and it should be showing. I don't know if
Boom.
you guys
There
can
you go.
see it, but yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Hmm.
So this video, in just a second, you're going to see some video of this footage of us going up this hill at 13,000 feet in Colorado. Yep, and here we go right here. And then
Hmm.
it's going to be hard to see in this little postage stamp, but you can get a link to this video later.
Yeah.
But the sprinters couldn't make it; they had to be towed up the hill because they didn't have enough power. So this is actually one of the sprinters that had to be towed up the hill. Another one had problems with its rear differential, and both owners were just saying, yeah, we were really struggling on this ride. And in contrast, the Transits they drove perfectly. You could just drive them the way that you needed to, and all debate about all-wheel drive versus 4x4 went
Hmm.
away. So this is a picture of our MH1 going up these rocky
Yeah.
hills up in High Roof, Colorado. So at the end of this ride, one of the things that came out of it was, oh yeah, the Transit's just way better. And this is also one of the reasons that we, decided not to build a model on the Sprinter.
Yeah. And I
Was
think
this
that.
ride, our personal experience on this ride?
Yeah. I think that the what is the Transit is, I would say, like almost twice. I think with the Sprinter, you were getting the old. Let's say we talk about the old Sprinter. I think it got as much as 188 horsepower, is as high as it would go. And it was a
Yeah,
V6.
it had way less horse. It's still,
Mm-hmm.
the Sprinter has way less horsepower and torque than the Transit. But also, I think the
Mm-hmm.
earlier Sprinter 4x4 system wasn't as good for off-roading. It didn't have 50-50 torque distribution, so it's
Mm-hmm.
putting a lot of the torque, in one place, even if
Mm-hmm.
the other wheels were slipping. And then the new all-wheel drive system, I think, is more comparable, where it can do 50-50, but they were still doing a lot of fun stuff with the brakes to try to make it act more like a 4x4 system, instead of putting, like limited slip. That Ford, basically, they called it all-wheel drive, but you could put it in mud and ruts mode, and it became something that's very similar to the 4x4 mode that we had
Yeah.
in the earlier versions of the Transit. Where it had
Yeah,
a differential transfer case.
I think the power is a big difference, and I did do a video at Overland West that we were both at recently with Engelhalt Allrod. So
Yeah,
that's
those guys.
it's a German company, but they make a
Yeah.
for real 4x4 out of the Sprinter van. They really lift it, put on the big tires. There's actually a shifter to go into 4x4 mode and all that, but you still have the power, and there wasn't that much. I think, well, they had a V6. I think now it's a 4-cylinder, right? They just went down in power to a 4-cylinder.
Mercedes. I don't think they went down in power. I think the engine
they went
is
up, yeah.
powerful or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they went down in cylinder count.
Yeah, and I drove it. We'll get off this subject here, but I drove the new all-wheel drive, the new Mercedes Sprinter, and when there's nothing in it, actually, it's not bad. It's still not better than the Transit. It's not bad. But when you put a lot of stuff in it, and if you guys want to know about that, PJ is an expert on this, obviously. But when you put a lot of stuff in there, you're talking completely different driving characteristics.
Yeah, and that's where that 400 foot-pounds of torque in
Yeah.
the Transit really shines. It's just,
Yeah.
no problem. Whatever
Makes
you
a
put
big
in the Transit,
difference.
no problem.
Yes. So we got a question that maybe we have to go back a little bit here. Travel Dreamer 46 says, do you have integrated temperature control for pets?
So we do have an app that you can monitor it, but it doesn't have like a specific pet mode yet. So one of the cool things about this technology stack that we're delivering is we've delivered, the X series is what we call with our big battery system and all computer controls. It's connected to the internet. It's connected to the cloud. You can monitor and control your vehicle with the ModVans app. But we don't have pet mode yet, but that's something we can add with a software update. So that's where we're kind of still an early company. We don't have all the really cool capabilities of Tesla, but we did build that into the stack, and we hope to offer it in the future. In the meantime, if you want pet mode, there are third-party apps with temperature monitoring that you can get, and then you can use that in conjunction with our very big battery and 12-volt AC to run your AC. So you would use this third-party monitoring to make sure your pets is safe, and then you would use the ModVans giant battery and AC to keep your pet cool.
Yes, and I think you already said this, but there's videos out there. Lola and I have done some videos. We have even more videos to come out, and we have a factory tour, which is actually, it's not obsolete, but you move factories. I don't know. Yeah, but so I guess
I'll move fast to keep up with ModVans, Hank.
Yeah, I know, man. But we'll. I'm still going to put that factory tour video up because I think it's really good and there's lots of tech. But to that point that people are asking, because you do write the software and everything for this, if you find that that's something a lot of people want to have, it's very easy for you to just really write something to make that happen, right?
Absolutely. We have 26 temperature sensors spread throughout the van, and then we have big battery, and it's all connected to the internet. So these are kind of the basic building blocks that we have, and it will be fun to combine them in different ways to solve these things that people want to do with their vehicles.
Yeah, and very quickly, we've got probably about a minute here, but yeah, that the big battery that you have that takes up the floor, and then also I think, what is it? You have 600 watts in the roof solar.
Yeah, so we'll round it to 600. The roof has 600, and then we have an additional 400 watts that we can deploy as a portable pack that plugs into the side of the van. So we have 1,000-watt solar charging available.
Yeah, so you can actually replace some of what that big battery is losing, and I know you have two options because you got 1,000 amp hour one and a little over 2,000 on that, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 1,000 watt solar, yeah, even the 600, we notice it makes a significant difference. So, for example, that's really close. The unit that's on the roof, the 600, is really close to what the AC takes to power. So, a lot of times during the day, you may not even be really practically using your battery power in order to run your AC, because most of the power is coming from the solar system.
Yeah, so there you go. So we're going to take a little break here and shout out the people who help us make this happen. And then we're going to come right back. And if you guys have questions, feel free to ask those questions. So as you guys might have already heard, Lola and myself are brand ambassadors for Sunshine State RV. And as VanNoisSeurs, I want to take this moment to encourage anyone who is in the market for a Class B van to start their journey with SSRV.
Sunshine State RVs specializes in selling Class B vans and B plus RVs. That is the reason why they are the #1 dealer in all of the state of Florida.
Number 3 in the whole United States.
SSRV will fly you right to their location in Gainesville, Florida. They'll give you a very detailed and thorough walkthrough of your van, and they'll give you a 2-night stay at a local campground so you can get used to your van. If you don't like that, you can actually have hands-free delivery anywhere in the United States of your RV.
We bought our Coachman Beyond from Sunshine State RV 2 years ago. And over the past 2 years, we've seen how they treat customers when it comes to warranty side. Their service team is great. Whether you bought it from them or not, every person that comes in there gets the same service and care when it comes to warranty repairs. The same service, attention, and care. And their team does a great job getting you back on the road safely.
So if you guys are in the market for a B or B plus van, consider Sunshine State RV. We've got a link in the description that you guys can use to see their current inventory and have someone get in touch with you. All right, cool. So one of the things, speaking of Sunshine State RV, I'm just going to ask this question. I see there are some questions coming in. So everyone, ask the questions, hit those thumbs up, share this if you can. It's a really good opportunity to talk to PJ. I could make this show probably 5 hours easily if PJ had the time. But because just with the knowledge, I always talk. One of the cool things I like about the relationship I have with PJ is that I can just run a whole bunch of crazy questions by him, and they get all this data back, or even explanations of things I don't understand. So I think this is really cool to have this happen, and we'll try to do it more. But if people want to buy a ModVans, right, they can't go to Sunshine State RV. You guys have a very specific way you sell. Not yet. Oh, not yet. What does that mean? Not yet.
We just haven't, we're not committing to a path right now. You can buy them off our website. We sell direct to consumer. So
yes, I know you did see Nick from Sunshine State RV at the Overland show.
Very briefly, yes.
Yes, you did see him. So what do people do if they want to buy a ModVans or just find out more stuff?
Well, the first thing is to do your homework, because buying any Class B RV, but a ModVans is also a significant investment. So we want you to do your homework. We feel like that that's going to show well for us, but we want you to do your homework first. So that could involve calling us. That could involve coming to our factory. We do offer the ability to come see demos, or meeting us at a show, which is how we met you at Overland Expo East. We do have shows, and we just added an events link on our website that'll show you the shows we'll be attending, so you could actually meet us. And we take 3 vans to all those shows, so you can get a good idea of how the space lays out. You can call us, you can email us with your questions, you can get a Zoom demo. Once you've done your homework and you feel like that ModVans is the right choice for you, then you place your order online. So you literally go to modvans.com, you click on order now, and then you'll choose your chassis, your Ford Transit. We have some Transits in stock. We're one of the very few people that have these awesome all-wheel drive EcoBoost in all the cool gray colors. Transits available. We actually have them for all models right now, so you can go there and place your order online and then choose all your options. So if you want the big tires, you want the winch, you can choose that. If you don't want it, you can delete it or not put it on your van, and you go through that process, and at the end of it, you'll have ordered your van online. I'll give you an analog though. It's like ordering a Tesla. You're going to go through that same process. If you come to our factory, that's a great, our salesperson will answer all your questions, give you all the tour, but at the end of the day, he's going to help you place your order on the website.
That's how you have to do it. Yes, and I think you guys are you do a lot of communication with people, because there are some options, and It's gonna.
Yeah,
That's probably
a lot
where
of
people are gonna.
questions.
Yeah, lots of questions there. So that's the thing. Now, and I know I saw that you guys do have a stash of vans, and that's actually a big deal, right? Because these vans are becoming
It's a huge
more
thing.
and more rare, and you've got them in different colors, like my favorite Avalanche, the gray.
Yep,
Do you
I'm
still
sitting
have
in
all
that
that
one.
going on, or no? Do you know?
We have a limited number of MH1 chassis, which is what
Okay.
you were most excited about,
Mm-hmm.
which is our Class B alternative. It's a high
Mm-hmm.
roof extended length version.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we actually have chassis for all the models right now, and we even have some transit trails available for selection on the website. So that's pretty exciting. That's going to be a new thing from Ford. They've really decided to double down on the adventure van segment. So they're going to offer the Transit with a lift kit to give you better clearance for off-road driving, bigger tires to give you more aggressive tread, and then also more clearance, and then a few other off-road, off-grid specific features. And that package is called the Transit Trail. So they generated a ton of interest. There's almost I haven't seen any customers actually taking a delivery of Transit Trail, but we actually have some on order, and we've actually have VINs and build dates, and we put a couple of them online for people to order. They are going to be expensive. There's
Okay.
no getting around that, but they're amazing vehicles. They're going to have all the electronics that people want with the 360 camera, blindside information system, adaptive cruise control, plus those off-roading features.
Yeah. And I know Pete has a question out there. I'm going to get to that here in a second, but you brought up the trail. So you haven't actually gotten any in, but you do have VIN numbers.
Yes. And
Okay.
yes.
All right. So that is a big deal. There's all these rumors out there. I know that Ford is going to build them, and I think we're probably going to see them later in the year or something, or at least that's what I hear. I don't know if you have any info.
I've heard, so we're, obviously we're kind of stuck on Ford, so we have our ear to the ground all the
Mhm.
time. I do believe that the initial customer deliveries are probably happening right now, or they'll be happening in June sometime.
Mhm.
And then, our build dates are not far off. So,
Okay.
we have VIN numbers. Sometimes, you'll get a VIN and a build date from Ford, and they'll have to push it off. But once you have that VIN number, it's not going to be pushed off into the next model year for sure. And it's pretty rare actually that they miss widely on the build dates. So, I mean, the
Okay.
Trails, new models, all bets are a little bit off. But I would say, having those VIN number and build dates from Ford is a really good indication that they will be coming in the next couple months.
Yep. Yes. I believe they're going to happen. I know people think they're not going to happen. I believe they're going to happen. I've seen some evidence of that I don't know how much I can even really talk about. However, it leads me to believe it's going to happen. Let's get to Pete's question and then come back to Trail and Ford and all that, since you're Ford centric. Pete Hat says, I would love to buy a True B van with a pop top, but hate the ProMaster chassis. What made you decide to do the pop top on the Transit, and have you had any issues with it thus far?
Okay, so I'll break this down into different parts. I explained in the earlier part of this video why we selected the Transit, because I believe it's the best van. I originally put the pop-up top because I really wanted to maximize that multi-purpose capability of having a somewhat smaller vehicle, and also I wanted a really great driving vehicle. So I'll explain a little bit. At the time, I lived in Berkeley, California, and my idea of adventure was every weekend, I had to work during the week, but every weekend I took off into the mountains. And the mountains are about 3 hours away, 2.5 to 3 hours away. Sometimes you're sitting in traffic. Often you're in wind, because that's how California is. You get into the mountains and the wind's there. And so I wanted something that was relatively small, but I still wanted kind of all the features that you'd have in a van, with a big comfortable bed, a furnace, to keep warm when it's cold, all those things. And I kind of mapped out my brain. The only way to get the features I wanted was to put a pop-up top and have that bed, the primary bed, to be above the living space, so that it, if you look at an adventure van, most of the adventure vans don't have pop-up tops, and then what happens is that bed is in the back, taking up a ton of space. And that actually works if you have the extended length. But as you get into the smaller vans, the 20-foot vans, then all of a sudden you have a van that is mostly a riding bed. And so putting that bed up into the pop-up top just makes sense from an engineering and architectural standpoint. So that was what drove me to select the pop-up top. And of course, I thought the Transit was the best van, so that's why I put a pop-up top on a Transit. Have we had problems? So we have about 150 customers driving our vans all across the U.S. right now. So to say that we've never had a problem, that would not be true. We have had problems. I would say the problems have been way less than I expected in the beginning, though. We actually have very few problems. Some of the problems were growing pains. So, for example, we had people that we trained on how to do certain things like sealing the pop-up top so that we didn't get water leaks. And we discovered that the training, wasn't as effective as we had hoped it would. So these are issues, that we've just getting better and better at. And I would say our pop-up tops right now, super quality. Like we're just not having very many problems. But we still have, we don't have any vans that, we haven't been able to solve whatever challenges came up, even from the early days.
Yeah, I think leaks on pop tops is very common from what I've seen. So that's definitely a place that everyone has to pay attention. I've seen it happen even with the big guys, but that's definitely a thing that could happen, right?
Since we're here, yeah. So I'll give you the nitty gritty engineering. So actually, the system that we use to seal the pop-up top from leaks is pretty much tried and true. So you can look at a company like Sportsmobile. They've been in business really since the 1960s, putting pop-up tops on vans. And there's a sealing system that everybody's kind of, we use a very similar sealing system that Sportsmobile does, and it works. It's effective. I mean, it has its deficiencies or whatever. But then you have the problem of, making sure, because these vans are not built by robots, not yet. So making sure that, that it's built, the engineering is correct to begin with. And then over time that the people that are actually doing the work are, doing it in the way that it was originally designed, that is good and leaks. And so what we kind of discovered is what actually happened was we had great leak we had no problems with leaks in our first, let's say 20 or 30 pop-up tops. So we thought we had it down pat. And then we hired more people to help us build faster. It makes sense. And we gave them training, and we were like, oh, okay, this is going to be, we have this system, it's been working. And then all of a sudden we find, some of our newest customers are having water leaks. And what we did an investigation, and what we uncovered was that even though the person had the training, he, wasn't doing the procedure correctly. So what we did was we kind of went back to the drawing board, and we said, okay, we need to improve our training, we need to improve our documentation. Also, we need to stop these leaks immediately by doing water testing on every van. And I've owned tents. I've been a tent camper a long time. And what I discovered as a tent camper was, not all tents come seam sealed from the factory. So, back when we were kids, Hank, you bought a tent from, your local sporting goods store, and it didn't have seam seals. And what that means is if it rains, it'll come through the holes made by the needle when it does the stitching. And so they make a seam sealer. And one of the first things you do when you buy a tent back in those days was you'd seam seal it if you plan to be out.
Like a caveman.
Yeah. And so anyway, I discovered that, hey, if I sprinkle my tent with water on a hose, and it didn't leak, that was a really good sign that when I got it out in the field, that it's not going to leak either, because the hose, if you spray it hard enough, it actually does a really good job of simulating what you're going to encounter in the real world. And so that's how we test our vans now. So, the first, like I said, 30 or so vans, we actually weren't leak testing. And, people are like, why didn't you leak test from the beginning? And the answer is because, we're trying to build a van that's somewhat affordable for the masses, so we do have to pick and choose. We can't exhaustively test everything. So, and as we learn, we're like, okay, well, we made a mistake. We should have been leak testing from the beginning, because this is really important. And we learned that training's not perfect. So even though our engineering system is great, training's not perfect. So now we do leak test. And another one that kind of got us later was, let's say a customer, we have one right now, somebody hit an overhead sign, they put a dent in their van. We're going to do some repairs for them. Now we actually leak test after we do repairs, because we ran into the same problem. We did a repair for a customer. Customers drive around, first rain, they get some leaks in there. We learned that even repairs need to be leak tested. So now we have, our QA procedure is new builds and anything that's ever, even looked at exterior penetration is going to get leak tested again by ModVans before we deliver to the customer. And that combination has served us really, really well as far as leaks go.
Yeah, and that's where experience counts. You have to have experience. And I think, just to move on from this and go to some other questions out there, the other difference with your pop top is that it's powered, right? Versus, I don't think I've seen anyone else do a powered pop top. Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, there's some smaller companies like ModVans, the Sportsmobile, Colorado Camper Van. They offer
Okay.
power. Maybe they have a manual option as well. I think mostly that everybody's gone to the power in my world.
Okay.
We specifically chose power from the beginning for two reasons. One is on the engineering side, it's actually simpler for us than coming up with a compensation system like springs that would help somebody, or air cylinders that would help, get the top up when a person's not strong enough to lift it by themselves. The other one is we wanted from the very beginning to be able to offer air conditioning and solar panels. And so we want to put those items on the roof. We want to be able to lift cargo, and, being able to lift a 100-pound top plus, a 100-pound air conditioner plus a 50-pound solar system is just not possible for you to. Most people just can't, push.
Okay. So the
pounds.
air conditioner goes up on that pop top, or does it
not on the
goes to an angle?
MH1. So this is where, we have the three models. When we built the MH1, it was extended length. So we were able to get some extra length on the back and get away from putting the air conditioner on the pop-up top. And that worked out really well in the MH1. Our other two models are too short. They're 20 feet long. And so in order to get an air conditioner, we had to put it on the pop-up top itself. And it actually works really well for that design, because those are meant to be more SUV replacements. And then the air conditioner is in the perfect place for that scenario. Whereas the MH1 is more of a Class B RV. The air conditioner is more in the back in the bed where it would traditionally be. But it's not on the MH1 pop-up top.
Okay, very good. All right, let me get this question from Travel Dreamer. He says, what is the approximate build time?
So there's two answers to this question. How long does it actually take us to build a van? And part of the answer is it depends on the model. So the MH1s are definitely taking us longer right now. It's a new model for us. The MH1X is taking us the longest time. Our CV1, which is kind of the one that we started with, we can build one of those in about 10 working days. So we can build those pretty quickly. So that's kind of the technical answer. The more practical answer is, when can I get one? And that answer is best given by our website. So if you actually go through our online ordering process, you'll see it's going to give you a price, which is firm, and an estimated delivery date, which is our best estimate right now, based on the combination of what we have in the queue in front of you and, the inventory that we have, when those are going to be available, and how long it's going to take us to actually build it once we start building your van.
Okay, so I can't remember exactly how many you guys are building when I came to see you, but have you been able to up how many vans you guys are working on at a time at this new factory? Or how many are you building at a time?
Yeah, so we can definitely build more at a time. We just moved, so we only moved 3 months ago. So I wouldn't say that we're really, we've hired some new people, but they're still kind of in training mode. So I wouldn't say our production has significantly increased yet. We're right on the cusp of that, though. We're right on the cusp of kind of stepping up production. But again, going back to, the training issue, we do want to take our time to make sure that we don't rush the growth too fast, so that we have quality problems down the road. So it will take us a little while to get to our full production. We're hoping that this new facility will be able to build 15 to 20 vehicles per month.
15 to 20. Okay, cool. And you guys are going to be there for some time?
We haven't decided yet. So we're still, hoping to grow ever faster. So, if it turns out that we can get to that 10 to 15 within, let's say a year, and we're ready to make the next move, we'll move again. So we're not one of these companies that just, gets comfortable and, this is what we're going to do for a while. We're like, no, we're pushing harder. And so as soon as we max this one out and we have the funding to get to the next place, that we'll be moving again. One thing that we have discussed is leaving a service center in California. So it could be that this facility stays with us for a long time, but isn't our primary production facility in the future.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Speaking of the future, I don't know whether or not you're talking about this. I'm assuming, well, I guess I already know this, but you guys are thinking about expanding, going out of California, finding other places to build. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the cost of living here is just tough for us for manufacturing. We are, in Oxnard, I haven't done a survey in Camarillo, but in Oxnard, we were probably the top paying manufacturer, and it still wasn't enough for our guys to afford to own their own home, which is, the American dream. And, we kind of get that. And so, we want everything, we want ModVans to work for our employees as well as for us. So, that's a big factor for us.
Yeah, and you guys wouldn't know this unless you're actually looking, but it's one of the things that I observed when I went down to the factory and visited with you guys. You really care about your employees, you really care about their well-being. You guys, I think, do a lot, to help out the employees, and that's really the core of any business, right? Until, like you said, robots could do everything, you have to have people, you have to have those people feel like it's worth it for them to work for you. And you've got to be able to retain them, right? In order for them to feel.
I mean, I think there's different people have different kind of like what their goals are in life.
Mm-hmm.
My goal in life is not to end up being a rich guy. My goal in life is to end up being surrounded by, family and friends, and, enjoy the company of the people around me. And that means that, if I work that backwards from there, when I build a company, it has to be a company that everybody there is excited to be there. They want to come to work. They can see how they're either happy with their position, or they can see how they can grow with the company. So yeah, we really want it to be a fun and exciting place for everybody to work. And we work hard on that. We just made some changes on the production floor, and, right now we're literally asking the employees, what do you think about these changes? Can you please let us know if, you feel bored, or, you feel like that this isn't a good use of your talent, so that we can, adjust and try to accommodate. Obviously, there is a compromise. We still have to work every day, and we have to work pretty hard. Yeah. But at the same time, we want it to be, like I said, a fun and exciting place where everybody can, one of the big choices we have is, do we promote from within, or do we, hire these external managers when it's time to open up the thing? And I have consciously chosen over and over again to promote from within, because we want ModVans to be a place where people see opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we got a couple of seconds here. We're going to go to the next segment, and we've got some questions and things like that we'll get to right after this. Lola and I are now official brand ambassadors for Coachmen Class B. So I wanted to take a moment to tell you guys why we, as VanNoisSeurs, like it says on our t-shirt, are very excited about our partnership with Coachmen Class B.
First off, Coachmen RVs has been a leader to the great outdoors since 1964.
So next is the fact that Coachmen really cares about you as an owner, whether you bought new or used. After you buy your van, they really take care of you.
With Coachmen Class B, you have all the options. Coachmen builds on all 3 van platforms. On the Mercedes Sprinter, it's the Coachmen Galleria. The Ford Transit is the Coachmen Beyond. And Ram ProMaster is the Coachmen Nova.
Lastly, best value for money. We've had our van for 2 years, and Coachmen builds to the highest standards of quality and craftsmanship. You can't go wrong with a Coachmen Class B. So if you're interested, check out the link in our description and find the Coachmen van that's best for you. All right, we are back. Pete said a couple of things. One, to answer the question about availability, he did look at the website. He says it's showing mid-October, so there you go. That's not really too bad. And another question. Well, here's what I wanted to say before we even get to this. If you're looking to buy something, a lot of times people buy the person behind that product more than the thing, right? Product is important because it's got some function or some reason why you want to have it, but the people who are selling it to you mean something. And I always say, well, look at how they treat the customers, right? That's really important. How does that company deal with people after they buy something from them? And then I think another thing to look at is how they treat the folks who build these things, the people who work for them. So that's another good thing. That's one of the things that I like about you guys. I don't think you're just saying what you just said. I think you really believe that. You really, and I saw that. I think you care about the folks who work for you, and that's a big deal. So, go ahead.
And one thing that has worked out for us in this social media world or whatever is we actually have an owners group. It's a Facebook/group/ModVans. You can actually, anybody on this podcast listen to this, you can actually pull up that Facebook group. You might have to, beg your grandfather for a login to
Facebook.
I don't log to Facebook, but yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah. Just get
Yeah.
on there, give them a fake email address, whatever you got to do. But you can see what our customers are saying about our vehicles and about how we support them, with their own words, and I do feel like that we represent ourselves very well, particularly, if you kind of pull up those same groups for other manufacturers. And I belong to all the groups. And, one of the reasons I belong to those groups is to learn from their experience in building RVs and the kind of challenges they have to try to not repeat those mistakes. And then also customer service, what are frustrating those people and how can we solve that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Pete had this follow-up question. He says, "How does someone get warranty or support that doesn't live in California? I live in Florida, and I've been considering your MH1 and a Coachman Beyond. Just worried about not having access to a service facility." So that's a question from Pete.
Yes.
Good question.
So this is something that we tackle a couple different ways. So first of all, one thing to understand is that when people come to take delivery from us, we understand that many times their first usage of our van is going to be a vacation when they drive their van home, and it could be all the way to Florida from California. So we're kind of, we're prepared. We are proactive about that. You don't need, well, I'm not going to say this, but I see in a lot of groups where people have these massive lists of things to double check for before they drive off from their RV dealership purchase, because there's a lot of defects that are sitting right there on the dealer lot. We're going to do that inspection for you, and we have a big long checklist. So that experience is quite a bit different from what I read in the groups about how we deliver a van. We expect you to drive this on a vacation straight at home, and we build it that way and we deliver it to you that way. So secondly, we have a 1-year warranty. If you actually look at the wording of our warranty, technically it requires you to bring the vehicle back to our service center in California, to our factory, but that's actually not what happens in practice. What happens in practice is that we are willing to let you take your RV to any RV dealer. So I heard actually in your commercials over and over again that Sunshine State will treat any RV owner just like as if they had bought the RV at Sunshine State, and I think that's an amazing thing in today's world, because there's so many people, especially out here on the West Coast, are like, you didn't buy your RV here, you're not going to get a service appointment. The good news is
it happens. I've seen it happen.
The good news is, because of our flexibility, we're not going to necessarily require you to take your van to even an RV dealer. You could take it to an RV repair center. And then what we'll do is we'll work with you to pre-authorize any inspections and repairs, and to reimburse you if that's what happens for the repairs. We'll send out parts. And again, for people that have concerns about this, what they can do is they can get on our Facebook owners and ask real owners. We have owners all over the country. We have owners in Florida, and ask them about their experience with, what happened when they did need to have some service done in Florida, and see how it works. After the 1 year's up, we're still going to support whoever it is, because what happens is, actually, interestingly, now that I've been doing this for 5 years, I learned that not everybody keeps their ModVans vehicle forever.
Right.
Sometimes we'll support the next customer down the line, the same way that we support the original owner. Also, ModVans qualify for extended warranties. Now that the pandemic has kind of relieved some of the pressure from RV dealers and repair centers, I think that's a new option that's come up, and you can actually get one of those extended warranties for out to 7 years on both the chassis, the Ford Transit, and the conversion, which is the part that we build. So that's an option for people who, want to have control over how much, repair could potentially cost. And those are nationwide, those warranties. And then the last piece of the puzzle is that the Ford Transit itself still covers, the original factory warranty. That's the thing that's probably going to be most likely to be expensive and difficult to repair. We do encourage customers to get even the extended warranties from Ford on their Ford Transit chassis, so that if their engine blows up at 100,000 miles, that it could be covered by that warranty. Because the Ford factory warranties are pretty affordable. So if you don't get, like, let's say a 7-year warranty that includes the chassis itself, that go ahead and get that Ford factory warranty. Those Ford warranty is, you can take it to almost any dealership. So that's one big advantage. We didn't talk about this with the Ford chassis. Ford dealers are used to working on trucks. They're used to working on vans. You can go to 3,000 or 4,000 Ford dealers all over the U.S., all over Canada, on the way to Alaska. Many dealerships in Alaska that can all work on your Ford Transit van.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that realize this, but obviously, if you're getting a Class B van, you've got two things going on: the chassis, which in this case comes from Ford, or it could come from Mercedes or Ram, and then you have that actual coach build, which some people call it. I don't know what you guys call it, but
we call it conversion.
The conversion, so the conversion side of your build. And yeah, I would agree. So I've spoken to folks who who are dealing with Mercedes and the Sprinter vans, and they have to go on waiting lists for like 6 months to get an oil change, for example.
Yeah, there's certain areas of the country that are very challenging for Mercedes service.
Yes. Now, when it comes to Ford, can you run into issues? Yes. I live right outside of Gainesville, and my local Gainesville dealership, if you call them up right now, they'll say it's a 2-week wait. And they actually want that van over there for 2 weeks sitting there, which doesn't make any sense to me. But I live outside of Gainesville, and closer. Well, actually, I think it's like the same distance. But in the countryside, there's a Ford dealership that if I called them up right now, they would probably tell me, "Okay, come in tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning." Yeah. So
and that's how it is. We had dealers that told people, "Oh, we can't work on your whatever." And then they literally called the next dealership over, and they were like, "Oh yeah, bring it in. We love off-roading in our Ford vehicles."
Yeah, and I think like I've traveled a lot, and there's only one time I came across a Ford dealership that had like a bad thing, and it was actually when I was in California. And I asked you about it, and you're like, "Oh, we don't like those guys either." So that all of that could happen, but with Ford, there's just a big network out there for now.
Yeah.
I think.
10 miles away, there's another dealership to choose from.
Yes, and I think that's for now. I know that with the electric vehicles and things like that coming in, there are these big OEMs that are planning on cutting back on dealerships, etc. But I think for a long time, we're still going to see a lot of Ford dealerships out there. The one I go to in the country is really great. I would say to people, 100% on that chassis, you want to extend that warranty. I've owned my van for 2 years, probably a little bit over 2 years, and I'm probably at 53,000 miles already. So way past the factory warranty.
Just shop out that warranty like crazy. If you're not a ModVans customer, if you're a ModVans customer, we'll help you. But shop out like crazy. You can get really good. I don't want to quote prices here, but to me, like the price for getting like 100,000 mile warranty, extending the powertrain warranty out to 100,000 mile with a Ford, genuine Ford warranty was very approachable.
And it's worth it. You've just got a lot of computers in these things. If you have all-wheel drive, there's extra stuff that could go wrong, and so I think it's worth it.
And you have an expensive coach, that was built on top of it, so the choice is different. We all know about the vehicle that has 400,000 miles on it and the transmission goes, and you're like, that's it, we're cutting it off. But what if you have a van that has 80,000, 90,000 miles on it, and the engine goes out, and maybe no fault of anybody, right?
Yeah.
Because it was such a significant investment up front, you're very likely that you're going to have to, it's going to make financial sense. But now all of a sudden you're talking about a $20,000, motor and turbo. With these modern engines, they are very expensive. And that's where I think the warranty really starts to make sense. It's like, okay, you don't have to make that hard choice. You're like, okay, well, I'll pay the deductible on the warranty or however that works.
Yeah. It's going to be worth it. That's my impression. And I think we've got another question from Pete, but I would just say on this, and I could probably talk about this more in the future if we have the time. I don't know if PJ will want to talk about it, but I really feel the tea leaves are telling me, PJ, that even Ford with the Transit, which is the most popular van in the world, okay, they don't want to build them. They want to go electric. Right, they would rather have the commercial fleet go electric. I just recently was looking at an interview with the Ford CEO, and he said a lot of things like this. They just want to go electric with it. So especially commercial, which these vans fall into commercial. So you want to think about this. If you want to have an actual engine, and you're getting into this, you probably want to think about this more long term. And it is getting more and more difficult. When I talk to other manufacturers out there, they tell me that they're having a tougher time getting their hands on specifically the Fords, but it's even happening with the other chassis that you have out there. So I don't know.
Honestly, I think a lot of that is related to supply chain issues and the kind of what happened throughout the whole world, and it's not just vans, it's everything, is that certain items became very limited supply, and consumers rushed in, and the demand has just been way overwhelming the supply, and we haven't worked our way out of that yet. So I think in 2023 maybe things will return to normal in Ford Transit land. I don't even know. I'm hoping 2023 will kind of be the normal times, but
Right.
you can't just to roll it backwards. When we launched the business in 2018, 2019, I could just go to Ford and order a van and it would show up in 10 to 20 weeks. I mean, there wasn't a question. You'd had to have allocations and all, but you could get vans. Whereas now it's just a totally different level. But it's not because they aren't running the factories. It's because they can't get all the components that they need to build those vans. So, I mean, I do hear what you're saying about, the direction from on high to kind of favor electric. But I don't really think that's what's causing the limit. I think it's still a hangover. We'll call it a hangover from the supply chain. I call it a bubble. There was a bubble of missing pieces that is still here with us, where that bubble, started during the pandemic. It arrived, in the middle of the pandemic, and now it's still here. It's just a lack of inventory of certain critical pieces. And eventually we'll build our way out of it. They're building more chips and all these other things, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. We could probably do a whole podcast on this discussion, me and you.
Yeah, supply chain stuff for sure.
Pete says he has one last question. There are no limits to the questions here. You can ask except until we go off air. But you can ask as many questions as you want. This is why I'm doing it. And I know, Pete, you're very obviously interested. So he says, one last question. What's the typical CCC on your MH1 build out? I'm not sure what CCC means. Does that have to do with weight?
I don't know what CCC is.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure about that either. Is that the weight? Is that like maybe how heavy the
van
gets?
Cargo. Yeah, occupant and cargo carrying capacity.
Oh, okay.
So we're definitely going to want to build out on the 350 chassis for the full battery. It's going to be, I think it winds up being about 1,000 pounds. So the van that I'm sitting in right now, I think the final weight was 8,400 pounds, and the gross vehicle weight rating was 96, I want to say. So it was a little over 1,000 pounds for this particular vehicle. But then if you get the full battery, it's going to add that extra 200 pounds in. It's going to be closer to about 1,000 pounds.
Okay. So what is that? That 1,000 pounds that you have is how much extra weight you could put in, or?
Yeah. So that's they call it occupant and cargo carrying capacity. It's interesting because it's very specific. I mean, there's Ford saying this is what's allowed. And then there's items that have to be taken into account that can't be taken into account. And I'm just going to give an example. When you do the weight, like the 8,400 pounds, it does include a full gas tank. That's required by the federal regulations, but it doesn't include water in the freshwater tanks. With the idea that you could potentially fill up your water tank somewhere else if you wanted to save that weight for cargo.
Yeah, and all of this is for safety, right? Because the manufacturer has to make sure it goes out with a certain capacity for extra weight, and then you, as the consumer buying it, need to be aware of that so that you don't overload the vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's what it's designed for, and then I think my personal guess is that in the Transit they're also always making sure that it's not too heavy duty because it might take away from F-150 sales.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, I'm trying to avoid getting into deeper things here but yeah, I think that's a good point you're making. Bravo Hearing Aid Service says, are the chassis warranty extensions available on vans already made by the big players?
So this I do know the answer to. It really is going to depend by, vendor by vendor and van by van. On the Ford, generally you can get the extended chassis warranties until the original factory warranty expires. So, for example, the Ford Transit comes with right now, I think, a 36,000 mile 3-year warranty, a bumper to bumper. And I know for sure you can get, like on a ModVans vehicle, you can get that warranty. You can add it anytime during that. I think you can actually add it until the powertrain warranty expires. That's 6 years, 60,000 miles, I think. Don't quote me on that. So you have some time to decide if you want to do it. And then also those warranties are usually transferable. The Ford warranties are. Now, if you go aftermarket, third party, and get a warranty from somebody else, all bets are off. It could be something different. But generally, the Ford ones you can buy later. And then I'm going to guess that, that the other, like Sprinter and ProMaster have competitive offerings. But you have to look at the really specific details of what the coverage is and what the rules are. The insurance companies, that's what they're doing. They're setting down those rules so they can make money. And it's up to you to kind of review those rules and make sure that, your purchase fits your needs.
Yeah. Yeah, read the fine print, and always, if you can, the Ford one will be better. So let's see.
I think so, just because, you're definitely, they tend to are willing to buy new parts rather than, bring in. It's just a little bit more straightforward if you get the Ford factory warranty.
Yeah, and it's easier process too, because you would, like some of the other ones, you have to go. It's like this whole dance. You've got to pay for the thing, and then
if you don't follow the rules, they don't pay. That's the number one reason they don't pay, is because you're pre-authorized.
Yes, and that will be very frustrating. Gunmetal Guy has a good question, I think. We've got a certain amount of time here to answer it. He says, has anyone had a deep dive discussion or video on the practical feasibility of the charging network capability to sustain all the RV vans if they go electric going forward? So that's an electric question. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually a really big, complicated question that we could do a lot of analysis, but what my kind of main thing is, if you've owned an EV, which Hank you have, you can say yes or no to this. Most of your charging is done at home on level 2 chargers. And just to give you an idea, a level 2 charger pulls about the same power as a large window AC unit. So, people that are panicking about, the load on the grid from electric vehicles, I think aren't really taking into account the most common charging scenario for most of us is that we're charging at home on level 2 chargers. So definitely there needs to be more infrastructure out there to truly handle electric camper vans, but I don't think that the grid's going to have a problem. This is my kind of analysis based on engineering principles.
Yeah, and in the time that we have, and I may have to bring this over into the wrap-up section, in the time that we have, I think it has to do with that particular location where people are. Some locations people charge more at superchargers than at home, so there's all that kind of stuff going on. I agree that for most of your traffic you're charging at home, but relative to vans, you're going to be traveling, so you're going to be charging on that supercharger network. And I have an electric van, and I've owned a bunch of things. Yesterday, I picked up my electric van from Seasucker, that they had it because it was in their booth at the Overland Expo. And on the way back, Electrify America that I stopped at, there was several of those things that weren't working. Versus Lola was driving a Tesla, and she was totally fine. And the van has like 115 mile range, so that makes it kind of worse.
Thank goodness Ford signed up with Tesla. That's what I say.
Yes, it is a good thing that they did that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm shocked, but
I think Ford is thinking forward here. I think Ford is very serious about shifting into electric vehicles for big segments like commercial, like I said, and I think you can't do it. You can't be practical about doing it unless you make some agreements with existing stuff. We're going to take a quick break. There is another question in this vein. I'm going to ask that when we come back from this. Actually, we didn't even go anywhere, so I can ask the question right now. John says there has been a problem with lithium and water being dangerously explosive. What has ModVans done to mitigate this problem? So there you go.
So all of the cells that we use in our batteries are UL listed, so they're tested exhaustively to meet all these kinds of things. I actually don't even know if the water and the if you were to puncture a cell and try to stuff it, full of water, would happen. I do know that we have done thermal runaway testing, so that if one cell is punctured, if one cell catches on fire, it's not going to cause what they call a thermal runaway event, where the other cells around it will catch on fire. So we have done some testing like that. And then, like I said, the cells themselves are designed to withstand water. So this isn't a major issue. I will say, just in general, anytime you have a high concentration of power, whether that's gasoline, batteries, anything, you concentrate a lot of power in one space. Yeah, there have to be precautions, and there is a higher risk than if you're in a place where there's not a high concentration of power.
Like Washington D.C. I'm not trying to create trouble.
There's a lot of trouble to be had in Washington D.C.
Yeah, there's a lot of power there. And Just Castro says transit trail on MH1. Question.
Yes, you can order those today on our website.
Yep, there you go. Listen, it's I was talking to PJ about this. It would be so easy for me and PJ to have a really long extended conversation here. I think an hour is probably a good time because we got to a lot of stuff, but I guarantee you that there's questions that folks have out there. So I would say check out my videos because I've got some very long videos with ModVans. I do have a factory tour coming, and there's several more videos coming from Lola and I actually borrowing your van and living with it for a few days. You can also get in touch with these guys. We're going to get into all of that, but great questions from everyone out there. PJ, where would you direct people? I know you kind of answered this already, but as we're wrapping up here, for the folks out there who have probably a ton more questions, how would they go about getting their questions answered, especially if they're interested in buying a mod van?
Sure. So. I would say, the number one resource is going to be our website. We did actually just publish an update to it. Within the website, you're going to find like our news link, every article that we've published about all the fun, exciting technology and design innovations that we've done. We're kind of chronological. We have articles linked for the history of all of ModVans, so you can just get there on the website. If you want to experience owners experiences, check out our Facebook group. It's Facebook.com/group/ModVans. Pretty easy to find. Just type ModVans into there. You can check out our Facebook page. That's going to be kind of redundant, I think, with the website information there. And then we have a YouTube channel. And one of the things we've done on the YouTube channel, which is you kind of got to dig for it, so this is worth talking about, is we've curated some playlists. So you have to go and find the playlist feature on the YouTube. But if you go through that effort of finding our YouTube channel and then find the playlist, what you'll find is the great videos that Hank and Lola have done with us. They're actually linked right there on the playlist because we love those videos and we want to try to get those out to our fans. And we know not everybody's going to click on every news article. So check out our YouTube channel and really, if you want to get in depth, maybe check out the playlist, not just the list of videos you see on the front page, which is our videos, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can always leave questions and things like that in comments here, and PJ will probably look at some of those. So we're gonna wrap it. There's one more. Do you want to take one more quick question? Do you want?
It's up to you guys. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, I could do it. JD says, any advantage to under chassis mini split be installed versus a 12-volt on the rooftop?
This is a great AC, technical question. I own a whole collection of mini split air conditioners. I don't think I'm ready to sell them, but I have really experimented with this idea quite a lot. And my conclusion at this moment is that it's not worth it for a camper van. It's just too much work, too much fiddling around. You end up with the cold air blowing from underneath instead of on top, which you want. And a rooftop AC is just such a simple and easy to service item. When it breaks, we just pop a couple wires, we lift it out, we pop it back in. If you have a problem with one of these split units that's installed and all throughout the van, it's just a nightmare to service. I do have some great ideas about how to tackle air conditioning, but those are going to have to wait because I believe I'm going to have to build my own air conditioner. So that's coming. I have some ideas for that. But yeah, as far as what's on the market right now, I just, I know people want it. I know they want that kind of lower profile, not having the rooftop AC, but it's just, it's not worth it. We actually had one customer actually pay somebody. They took their ModVans vehicle. They paid them to put in a split unit under the kitchen cabinet underneath. They had a lot of problems with it. And in the end, it didn't keep their van cool. And so they actually paid us to install a rooftop AC after the fact because it didn't work for them. So that's my experience with it.
That's good. That's good info. And just think about this quickly to go back to a question someone asked with us getting service. Let's say you live in Florida and you are in Utah and you need a new AC. It better be one that can be found really
show
fast.
Up at Camping World and guess what? They sell they can get the Dometic and they could actually accomplish the install.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, listen, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks so much, PJ. I really, I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to come on. Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I would encourage people out there to find out where ModVans is going to be and get out to those shows that are near you. Overland East is coming up towards the end of this year. I think it's in October. If you're on the East Coast, let's say you're in Florida, it's a couple of hours to get there versus the other places. But find out where they are and go there. PJ and everyone else that works at ModVans that shows up at these events are very knowledgeable, and they'll be happy to talk to you. They're nerds. That's what I love about them. So check them out. Yeah, ModVans makes what I think is a really, really cool van if you're looking for something different out there. So Gunmetal Guy has more questions. Which is the next ModVans chat for more questions? When's the next ModVans? We'll work it out, and I'll let you guys know probably a little bit more in advance, so that you can come on and ask all those questions. Thanks a lot, PJ. Stay right there. I'm going to end this right now. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate you. We'll see you next week, I think, on Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and we'll do this again with another company. We are out of here. Peace.
All right, Hank. Thank you.